by about 5 today in the morning. And then I have a video going on Shamega J. So I'm trying to do both channels. I'm trying to really make this into a job for me. And it's hard. You know, the gang stalking is hard. I'm doing videos, like live videos, and I'm spending like 20 minutes or more, and it's coming up with 4 minutes. So what they tried to do is link me to all this other stuff so that they could have an excuse to continue to monitor me, to continue to break up my career. And when they got caught showing that I'm somebody who stayed the same, my sense of self stayed the same throughout my life, they got caught because in college we did sort of a personality assessment. And they said, oh, somebody reported that I was doing that. And they said, no, it's self-reported. It's like, I don't want personality assessments done on children, especially, but I don't want it done on anyone under 21 because they use it to manipulate you. And once they know your personality, they know exactly how they can manipulate you, take advantage of you. So in that personality assessment said I'm strong in sales, enterprising. They said I wasn't good at business management, but I am, it says it. And I went into sales. So, and business. So all the things that they said I wasn't going to do, they said, you were going to be a business lawyer. And what did I go into? Business. I didn't go into law. But partially, this is the problem with them. They aren't consistent, but they expect more from me than they can do themselves. And that's part of what I'm saying. They needed to clone me and use AI. So now I'm using AI to counter them, which they said is causing them to have to redo AI because AI knows everything they're talking about. I'm here and I'm like, what does that mean? I check AI, it's in AI. Racism's in AI, sexism's in AI. The things they talk to me about all day, it's in AI. So they're upset that I'm using AI to counter their AI. But AI seems to know exactly what they're talking about, and I don't. I'm completely learning the wrong stuff from the people talking to me all day. So I want to talk about how that is just wasting my time, okay? So now that I've wasted how many minutes on that? 3 minutes? You guys understand why this is wasting my time. So gang stalking is about making victims waste time, documenting so many things. Fortunately, there's a channel out there. It's in the post. I put it in community posts with an actual PI who was a former cop who tells you how to properly document. Because trust me, we would be documenting everything all day, every day, if it were just up to victims. We need professionals who say, okay, don't worry about that over there. Focus on this. So that's what he's doing on his channel, and I like that channel. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is how I'm trying to make this into a business. Guys, if you like my content, I'm going back to selling on eBay. If you could take at least a look at it, if you could purchase something great, if you could check my bio, I have a GoFundMe, I have a Buy Me a Coffee account. I'm trying to come up with money to pay this rent. It's a carrying charge since it's in Co-op City, but I'm trying to come up with some money. And you guys know when you're being targeted in gang stalking, it's very hard. They ruined everything. So when I was checking my to see when I'll be eligible for monetization on this channel, they got really excited because they saw the lifetime hours were over 4,000, but the 365, meaning the annual watch time, was only a little over 1,000 hours. So I'm so far from watch time. I'm so far from monetization. I can't even get to 1,000 subscribers. So of course, what do? They say, well, before you didn't have such and such and such, but before I wasn't automatically, they just said the word automatically. I didn't say that. Before I was monetized. So what I'm saying to them is that every time they try to come up with something like, it feels like I'm dealing with people who have an issue. And when they admit they have an issue with me, they do it publicly. Exactly. This is about hating me. It's about racism. It's about sexism. But most of all, they took advantage of this abuse of power. The power to do this and afford to do this for a decade. This started in 2016 for me. They keep trying to change the dates to, oh no, it was this date and then it was that date. But for sure, it started in 2016. They've admitted it. So to be able to do this to me for a decade, to cut off my lives, to shorten my videos when they think I'm lying, and then I show proof and it's like they go to the next thing. It would just keep being the next thing, which is why I'm calling this video wasting time. It's about wasting time. The victims are going through so many other things at the same time because these are setups. Because eventually most victims, they just can't take it. And what I'm saying, hold on, victims, hold on. There's going to be a way to stop this system from working on anyone again. There's so much out there from victims who are fighting back, who are documenting that we can't all be going through some sort of mental problem. In fact, let me tell you something. We were talking about real estate and scams in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A real estate agent, I believe, found a whole bunch of deed theft. The person who did it hasn't been charged for a crime yet. But what she said happened was the titles was changed on deeds, and the people who are mainly elderly people will have to go file paperwork and documents to switch the deeds back into their names. But that's what happens. What happens is either the person's elderly or the person owns property someplace. And we were just talking about this. Person owns property someplace. They don't even, think about it. And someone else takes the deed. So the person who was explaining this said, and this is what I was always trying to figure out, what's the point? What's the goal? The goal is that person can then use that as collateral to apply for a loan. I wouldn't have known that. Most people wouldn't have known that. So that goes back to what I'm saying. While we get so sucked into documenting everything, all sorts of other things are happening. All sorts of other stuff that we aren't paying attention to, that we really should be paying attention to, we don't pay attention to. So I think I already put that in the description. So if you're watching this, you want to know what I'm referring to, it's in the description of this live. So that goes back to what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that we targeted individuals can be doing, should be doing. We should now be focusing on ourselves more than the gang stalkers. It's ridiculous. So, oh, look at you. Who made you the boss? That's the way we talk in New York. I mean, again, I would be spending time like that. So they just said something. So anyway, the whole point becomes, they said they put me in a community of highly sensitive people. There's the setup. They just admitted it. I hope this is live. There's the setup. Did you hear what she just said? A female voice just said, Shamega, we put you in a community of highly sensitive people. That's the setup. So let's continue to listen to what they're saying, because they make a lot of admissions. They say that I'm wasting time, but at the same time, they wasted a lot of time setting me up, didn't they? They said my name. They said something else. So I'm waiting for what else they have to say. They said, point out our constant hissing. In my videos, I have and it's funny because a lot of people can hear the talking in my videos and can hear all the noise all the time. And they've commented, and they said what the gang stalkers will do is have someone write that, oh, you're nuts. What voices? What sounds? What? So meaning they have people who gang stalk in the comments who pretend they don't hear anything. So they said, okay, they were talking about something else. So, but there are so many people who do hear the sounds, the noises, hissing, the talking, the bang. It's nonstop. So what they said is the hissing sound isn't their technology. So they have people who can talk out loud. You'll hear just regular people talking. But then you have the hissing sound, and then things. So I'm talking about the whole thing. I'm not separating. Why they're upset is because they feel they don't want to take blame for the hissing sound. They don't want to take blame for the hissing sound, or they don't want to take blame for the people yelling out the window. I'm saying, how can I be in my apartment and anyone in anywhere know what I'm doing? How could people react by yelling out the window to what I'm doing in my apartment? So they said maybe they're watching the live. We know that they could be watching the live. I'm talking about when they aren't watching the live and when I'm just doing something in my apartment. Do you see how this would work? It would be an argument system. So they're creating AI to argue with people and drive people nuts. And I want to know how do they do this? How do you sit at a computer? They said you saw them. They said you saw them or us. Which one is it? They said they said you're getting your YouTube channel cut off. They said, no, not you, Shamega. So they just said, I'm getting my YouTube channel cut off. And then when I replied, they said, no, not you, Shamega. So they said, I saw them at the DMV. So in 2019, again, we're talking about, look at the dates. This is 2026. So 7 years ago, they're saying that at the DMV, I caught, it was, they said it was 2 white men at a computer in a DMV. And they were typing something, not behind the desk or anything, but in the waiting area. And so they said those were the people setting up the voices. And they said they played a little mind trick. They said on us. And they said she is thinking about this little lamb. What is that? Mary had a little lamb. They said this little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Again, not my mind, as you can tell. So they said, they played a mind trick where they were thinking about this little lamb. They said, Shamega, look at your lips. They said, Shamega, look at your lips. So, okay, so they said, what is this little lamb? It's Mary had a little lamb. But again, so now someone's yelling out the window. So my whole point becomes, if this were a person who has a history of mental illness, it would make that person seem like this is part of it. I don't have a history of mental illness. I couldn't do this. Mentally, it would be a miracle, a mental miracle for me to have all of these separate thoughts at once. It's impossible. But also the problem with this is that we're showing, everybody talking is showing that there's a communication system out there that people need to know about. Please, guys, I want to talk to you about this. And they say I'm bossing. I'm not bossing anybody. I'm trying to talk to you the way we spoke when I was growing up as a Gen Xer, because this to me connects to my generation. For some reason, I think it has to do with, as our parents are getting older and we're going to inherit stuff, I think they're trying to steal before we can even get things. That's what I think. And before our children can get things. So I think as Gen Xers, we are now that generation where, for the most part, we are the generation that's making big decisions. So if they can attack our generation, it affects our parents, it affects our children. In some cases, people got grandchildren, it affects grandchildren. So Gen X now to me is under attack, and I really do believe that. So going back to what I'm talking about, these real estate scams, it can really destroy people's generational wealth, especially Black people. And our parents, grandparents, and us, Gen X, we worked hard for that generational wealth. So anyway, going back to what they're saying is, I'm talking to Gen X right now. There is a system of communicating with people. They can use all sorts of advanced technology, but they can also use the technology you have. Our cell phones have radios. If you don't believe me, just check. There's a radio signal on our cell phones that they can use to create a two-way communication system. So even that is a way of communicating. These people went over the top with this and did all this to make me look insane. And the more I'm not insane, the more then they start just talking to me. Why do I want to talk to them? Could you imagine? Let me put it this way. Let's change this. If I did that to them, I would be in prison. Okay, here's an example. I may like somebody. I'm going to surveil that person, install a communication system with that person, play beats, move people around that person to set that person up, which they already admit they set me up. And then all of a sudden, when that person rejects me, say that person's mentally ill and nobody would care. They said, this is turning real serious. He's changing the lighting on the screen. Yeah, and you guys know I'm looking at the lens. I'm learning to look at the lens instead of double checking to make sure I'm not cut off. So at one point they said, I keep looking at myself, but on the screen, there says this thing reconnecting. Then it says, try again, end live stream. So I started watching that. So they said, oh, all the time we thought she was looking at herself, she was looking at that. But also I started to look at myself because my mouth wasn't moving in time with my words. Like I'm talking and all of a sudden my mouth is going like this and the words don't match. Then they used to cut me off. If you guys have been watching this channel, I'm talking, they cut me off. So I started getting to the point where I kept looking, and then I would look at what I'm doing to see my words are matching. Then I'm looking at the monitor. So I'm finally getting used to looking in the lens up here. And of course, what do they do once I get my brain to focus on the lens? Look at your lips. Look at your lips. So they said my lips are very shiny. I have that lip balm, you know, the Dollar Tree lip balm. I love it. I'm starting to use it underneath lipstick because my lipstick will tend to get stuck in like the, you know, cracked part of my lips, and it helps it. So this is just the lip balm. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask some questions. Somebody said at one point when I shut off the chat, they had a question, but I don't know what the question is. So I'm going to keep trying to do as many live streams as possible. They said, again, here's their way of thinking of this. They said, if I do 1,000 1-hour live streams, I would just need 4 views. That's a hell of a lot to ask of people to view 1,000 1-hour live streams. Then they said, well, you could view your own live streams. That's a lot to ask of me. That goes back to this wasting time to watch 1,000 1-hour live streams of me doing this. So they said, well, I can do how many 1,000 4-hour live streams and watch it once, and I would get monetized. So now I would be wasting time watching 4 hours of me doing this in 1,000 videos. It's ridiculous. In 1,000 videos to get monetized. Okay, I'd rather not do that. I'd rather just do better content and try to get monetized the right way. But again, I think they did all this to stop me from getting monetized, coming up with an excuse, coming up with, they said, do better than this, and they named a group. You know, I want to talk about that for a second. When they keep naming groups, I'm not with the Black people now, unfortunately. I'm now with the West Indian people, who I love, but it just, to me, is racist. West Indians, we are Black, so I don't even understand that. But when they're talking about race, I want to talk about this in a bigger issue. I'm wondering if some people who are being gang-stalked are connected in a racial way. Because when I'm looking at the different types of people being gang-stalked, I'm wondering what the races were, if it's a racial thing for them. For me, it definitely was. And I think it goes back to being here in New York. I think it goes back to, they said, their culture. I think a lot of what they tell me, I didn't grow up with. So when they were using people who might have known me in elementary school or high school, we're not all the same ethnicity. So that's something different. They started talking about things that I don't understand because I didn't experience it. So it automatically meant it changed for me. They said that's why they're trying to customize it, but it's too late. If you customize it and put it out loud, then everybody would understand it. It wouldn't be customized anymore. Don't they understand that? They said that's right. Yeah, because custom means tailored to just me. But if everybody can relate or understand what they're referring to, it's not customized. It would just be like the same thing we're talking about in terms of they said because I had a friend when I worked at Saks, and that would be over 17 years ago. And she would go, black don't crack. And I would say, it doesn't. And they thought that was me correcting her grammar. It's not, it's just a reply. So once everybody knows that, then it's not a custom to me thing. It's an everyone thing. And they're upset because I'm using like the Google AI mode to reply to what they're saying, or to put in what they're saying, so I can put it as not a thumbnail, a sticker in my videos, or I can tell you folks about it. And they're saying, well, isn't that going against not using AI? Actually, in the video, I said, everyone's going to have to learn AI because this is the new thing. It's like right now how they're promoting AI, but but I don't like AI, and I don't want AI. I don't want AI to waste people's time. I don't want AI to be trained on real humans. I don't want AI to start dating children. You know, it's like any new thing. There are predators out there, and they take advantage of the fact that it's new. They said it's like a gold rush. It's worse than that. It's like in a revolution. So in history, I love history. You guys who know me might know that. In history, there's been big revolutions. So like the Industrial Revolution, the American Revolution, that's changed things quickly, a big change. So the AI revolution, in my mind, is bringing about a big change, but it also brings about a lot of predators. So right now, because we're going through this complete change in intelligence, from human intelligence and actual intelligence to artificial. There's a reason why they call it artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence, and it's trained on human beings. So if your AI is a predator, there's got to be an issue. Who put in those predatory tactics in AI? Who created that predatory AI? It's not, they're trying to say, oh, the computer just changed into a predator. No, somebody trained that AI into these predatory tactics. When I'm using AI to confirm what the predators gangstalking me are saying, and AI knows it and I don't, who put that in there? The predators did. So what I'm saying is AI knows this racism stuff. They understand what I mean. So they're now angry because I have proof. I can say, hey, here's a document that proves what they're saying to me exists. And I put it usually on the top of my videos, the stickers. So they said, why did I correct them as thumbnails? Again, that's not my train of thought, but that's what they're thinking about. So when the predators are able to take advantage of people using AI, voice cloning, changing your face to look like a celebrity or to look like someone else and scam people, having relationships, complete relationships with people and pretend to be someone else or pretend to live somewhere else. The same thing these predators do. One thing that they were doing, and they admitted, was that they were pretending to be other people. So they would start using celebrities' names. So I'm in my apartment and they're like, we're friends with this one. So they started using celebrity names. I had already told the world this was happening to me, so it wasn't going to make a difference in my life, but I didn't know it was true. I didn't know that they were really in some way connected to entertainment. So I'm thinking, they're nuts. Why? Until I watched the news and it's like, they were just talking about that. So that's a different part of this. The other part of this is that I would be wasting my time trying to keep up with celebrity gossip to confirm what they're saying. Instead, I decided just, no, I'm not going to talk about it. It doesn't make any sense. But before I knew that, I thought they were nuts. So we're talking about a revolution to me that's going on right now. And it's a complete change in everything. They said this is what we're talking about. They said this is the reason none of this is stopping. A woman said that. She says she's breaking the news to law enforcement. So it's like a complete revolution right now. And they said, why did I just name the Industrial Revolution? They said, is that the only revolution I know? They said, obviously not, because she switched it to the American Revolution. This seems like we trying to disrupt the fabric of American life. That's what they just said. It seems like we tried to disrupt the fabric of American life. They said, we're taking this YouTube channel down the wrong path. I think it is a revolution. I think it's a complete change. So now they said they're challenging me to name another revolution. I named the American Revolution. They said, other than that, okay, again, wasting time. I'm doing a video that I'm going to call Wasting Time. I think I'm doing on the Shamega J channel. The Shamega J channel, I'm trying to make more about me, my life, showing that they're liars, that the gangstalkers are liars, because I have a lot of things that I've documented over my lifetime. They said I'm not breathing right. Again, my brain couldn't function on with all these things happening. That's why I know it didn't happen this way before. They said, Shamega, we already admitted that. No, you haven't. If you keep lying about it, you haven't admitted it. You haven't admitted it. They said, didn't I just contradict myself? No, I'm saying there are different groups of people doing these voices. Some of the people have admitted that this started in 2016, but a lot of them have not. Even when I was talking about it before and I said they keep changing the date, different groups of these people doing this have not admitted that it started in 2016. So this is how, when I was a kid, again, if you guys are new and just started watching, I'm Gen X. We had mentally ill people who used to argue with themselves, and it looks nothing like this. And part of why I'm saying that I believe they've created symptoms of mental illness that are now seen as not a symptom of mental illness, which is a big change in our way of looking at mental illness, is because they created this and put it out loud. So it would require me to keep arguing with a supercomputer, which is called AI. It's like AI. So they put all these lies into AI, and I would have to argue with it. And when I don't argue with it, they say out loud, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you do that? Meaning they are trying to manipulate me into appearing mentally ill. Since I am not mentally ill, it would be stupid of me. They said, don't use that word stupid. Again, not my mind, not Gen X. Gen X used the word stupid. I think we even had like a phrase back when I was a kid. They say, yeah, that's right. Like we would use stupid as like very, like that's stupid, or that's, stupid was like a slang word for us when I was when I was growing up. It was like a slang word. Anyway, so it would be stupid of me, not being mentally ill, to start arguing out loud. So I have to take what they're doing to me and put it in my life as, is that a good decision? No. So I wouldn't start just to argue out loud with them because it wouldn't make sense. But for this channel to show you how it's done, it does make sense, because you're able to see that the the thought process isn't my thought process. How it would look if I'm just out in public and I hear them say, don't use the word stupid. Well, first of all, if I'm out in public and I use the word stupid, then there's an issue. But if I'm like out in public and I'm like stupid and they don't say stupid, hey, I grew up when we said the word stupid, but people would look at me like, who are you talking to? Because that's how it's supposed to look. But that goes back to what I'm saying, how it would make me look like I'm mentally ill. But because I'm not mentally ill, I can't react that way. So then what they'll do is say, why didn't you just react? You're supposed to react. And I'm supposed to then look around and say, what am I reacting to? So am I reacting to them saying the word stupid is bad? So now all of a sudden saying stupid is wrong. That isn't the right way to speak. To me saying, well, I grew up and stupid was a normal word for us to say. They said, Shamega, it still is. So then I would have to, in public, try to, they said something, explain yourself. But it's wasting time. It's about, you can see how we spent half an hour and what they're saying is about wasting time. The time that I could be talking to you guys about the schemes and scams, about the tactics they've used, but that is a main tactic. To me, this is the biggest tactic that they've created for gangstalking victims, how to waste people's time. By the time most people, they said, Shamega, it started, something started. By the time most targeted individuals get that their time has been wasted in this program, the program has destroyed something. It destroyed a relationship. It destroyed a job. It destroyed health. It destroyed, people's character. They use character assassination. It destroyed where you lived. It's destroyed something. And the more you don't realize that, the more you keep going in that same direction. So when I want to go back to this, because I said this earlier in this live, there is a great channel, and I put it in the community post, by a PI who was a former police officer who explains how to document. And this person said, document crimes. If you're talking to the police and you're saying, I'm being gangstalked, they'll think you're nuts. But if you document crimes, and similar to the crimes that most of us have experienced, they understand that. So for example, they understand this crime, that crime. And that's partly how this will help as a targeted individual. They said, talk about yourselves now. That's not me talking. As a targeted individual, to keep us from wasting time on every little thing, which is what this was supposed to do. They would have us wasting time on, I heard a sound, this was this. And by the time that happens, we've wasted so much time that we've lost something. We've lost something in our lives besides the most valuable thing that we've lost, which is time. And I want to talk about that for a moment. Something I used to do to manipulate me was talk about the time I would have in general. And you guys know this. At one time they said I was dying. Now I'm still alive. I'm still here. And I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to do that. They said, I'll never, again, they used the word never a lot. And then all of a sudden that became a bad word, like stupid. So never and stupid became bad. They said I would never get to do certain things because I was dying. And I'm still here. But that manipulation was supposed to destroy me, and goes back to what a lot of people who were talking about the Stasi and East Germany tactics under Zersetzung or something like that said. It's about decomposition. And when I think about decomposition, it's a psychological decomposition, I think about the body deteriorating. As soon as I hear that decomposing, I think of, I'm so into scary movies. You know how like in a scary movie, the body starts to wither and die, and then all of a sudden it starts to decompose. That's what I think. That this program is about time. And over time, as the body is decomposing and just like it's supposed to be psychological decomposition, decomposing, as the body is beginning to over time get old, and then you die, and then the body starts to decompose. That's what they're trying to do to us victims. That's what they're doing to us. They're taking away time. They're taking away our humanity, flesh. They're eating away at us. And that's, to me, the worst thing you could do to another human. So let's see what else they want to contribute. They said, that's a gruesome analogy. They said, why don't I use the word metaphor? I'm into menopause, and they said metaphor, and I turned into metaphor. Okay, why didn't I use the word? I would be horrible at this. Why didn't I use the word metaphor? They said I used to be coughing all over the place. Now, coughing is important in gangstalking. Now, it seems like the people who cough on you are supposed to be gangstalkers, but they made me cough. And they can, because you can see I have a mark on my throat. You guys see that? So I have a mark on my throat. And so they said that's how they were going to turn me into a perp. But anybody who knows me knows I tend to not cough on people. So it's not just coughing in general. I just want to make sure I tell you guys that it isn't coughing in general. It's coughing in your direction. So it's not just someone who's like over there coughing like a regular person. Someone who comes up to you or gets close to you and then coughs on you. So when they put these marks here, that's how I think it should be right here, the mark. And here's another mark I have. And they said that mark was supposed to identify me. Can you guys see that? So they, at one point, they came up with this whole strange thing that if you have a mark on the side of your head, which I'm getting again from them. So you become the brains. So they mark victims to say, this is a brain person. They said this mark was supposed to be like a body person, meaning somebody who's got a body or something like that. I don't believe all of that. Again, this would have wasted more time. We're talking about wasting time. And it would have been like you looking at everybody, staring at people, looking for marks. No, a lot of people who are targeted have huge marks. They have a lot of marks on their faces because whatever sort of laser technology they use to hit us in certain areas, it marks it. So a lot of people have where their sinuses, because it creates inflammation. And you'll notice about a lot of targeted individuals, I noticed something with the way we speak. It's like we have the headaches. So I want to talk about that really fast. So if you are a targeted individual, a lot of targeted individuals have some sort of marks on them. But it's a medical issue also, because a lot of targeted individuals talk about lumps. They talk about having some sort of headaches. They talk about having, the cough thing. So getting sick. So that goes into a different way of thinking about it. So the idea that we aren't just marks, like marks in a scam sense, someone who has been scammed, is being scammed, could be scammed or set up, but marking us so that the people gangstalking can recognize us. What they used to do to me, they said, tell us about the post office. They just now said, tell us about the post office. What about the post office? They said, didn't your phone used to ring? Well, I was going to tell you guys about that because I think I mentioned that in the previous video, but I want you to know what they're saying. They said, excuse me, they said, tell us about the post office. Didn't your phone used to ring? Meaning as a way of marking me. I'm going to talk about something different. They used to start to follow me everywhere. And what they would do is they switch people, which would make me seem like I'm crazy. Fortunately, they would mark themselves by wearing the shirt from where I used to work or wearing the shoes, something I would notice, a hat. So to show you how they would mark themselves, I would leave my building and walk. I would notice someone who has a hat. I won't say the company name. The hat, okay, that happens. It was popular. Get on the bus, someone has the shirt. It happens, it's popular. Walk down the street and someone does something weird and I notice the person has the company shoes. Okay, get to my job and a whole group of people have something on with the company. Now that's unusual. That's unusual. Not the job, there was the job after that. So after that, I went to work at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And I'm describing things that really did happen. So I would see someone with the former company's hat. Could happen. Bus, shirt, could happen. Someone, shoes, could happen. But once I'm in Barclays Center, like a whole group of people with all this the company before that merchandise on, that's unusual. That's what I mean by marking. So it might just be a mark of this kind or this, but marking with clothing. So if they said that's disastrous, exactly. Because if you're crazy, you might just say it's a popular item, clothing item, so people are wearing it. And if you're crazy, you would say, well, that means something. No, it didn't mean anything to me at the time. And I started taking pictures of it just so I could say, okay, that's, but once it became not just a group of them at Barclays Center, but hanging around me, looking at me, talking in that way, they wanted to be seen. So they said, didn't they play the song, I always feel like someone's watching me? That's a popular song. Again, that would be crazy. I'm trying to get to a point where I'm telling folks, they're going to make you waste your time. That would be wasting my time. Listening for popular songs about watching would be wasting my time. But having them follow you from your building to where you work, showing up in your place of work, standing around you, talking and looking in your direction is not a waste of time. So again, they're talking about something, but it sounds they're talking to each other at this point. So I can't follow the conversation the way they're talking to each other. But yeah, so again, they said they don't want me to talk in an authoritative way. So they don't want me to talk in an authoritative way. So they don't want me to speak with authority. They want me to speak in a more questioning way. They said I should be using a softer tone. They said, didn't they say I said that? They said, this is looking ridiculous. So when I say this is about wasting your time, don't waste time with them, they don't like that. They would like me to rephrase that. So let's see if I can rephrase that. I'll do this, see what they say. This is probably about wasting time. So they said, don't rephrase that. This is probably about wasting time. It wouldn't make sense for you to waste your time by listening for popular songs. It makes more sense to, they said that's still authoritative. Anyway, so they're saying I talk in a more authoritative tone and I shouldn't. That I should speak in a softer tone. I think my softer tone still sounds the same way. But the whole point is the way they would waste your time and make us seem crazy. And I'm saying target individuals is by having us document things that anybody could easily say, well, that's just a popular song. That doesn't make sense. Something that would immediately make someone listening to you say, that sounds crazy. And what I'm saying is that it's not crazy if it starts to become a pattern of that. So if you are seeing the same people following you, that's not crazy. If you are seeing, a pattern of people who are associated with something that you were associated with, meaning it's not crazy. It would be crazy if it were just a random shirt. The fact that I was associated with a company and then I see people associated with that same company later on after I find a new job, that's not crazy. So partially what I'm saying is that it was a pattern of behavior. It wasn't just one day. It's like I left this company and now I'm seeing people at my new job who are associated with this company. They said that doesn't sound authoritative. Again, not a me word. That whole thing, that whole criticism is not a me word. I wouldn't say that, first of all, because I wouldn't think about tone and speaking with authority or not. So I want to talk about that for a second because, again, wasting time. I think they spent a lot of time trying to change me into something I'm not, which, again, is a problem. And they said highly manipulative. They use highly a lot. I would say very. So that's another thing. They use like highly manipulative, highly African. They made a big deal about that. And they said I looked highly African, which doesn't make sense to me. So to me, highly African means it doesn't make sense. Saying I look very African makes sense. Very such and such makes sense. The word very. So even the words they use don't make sense to me. So they said, who says highly? Like if you say highly stupid, like they hate the word stupid. That's highly stupid. What the hell? What does highly stupid mean? We don't use that word in my circle. We want to talk about circles. We don't use the word highly. They said, this is why this is a mess. They said, this is why this is a mess. They said they may have cut my live off. Again, that is a violation of my First Amendment right, which is very important to me, which goes back to what I'm referring to about this being foreign. In American culture, if we have a disagreement, we don't tend to hide it. We tend to publicize it for two reasons. We think we're right. So let's ask everyone else. But we grow up that way. We grow up with the way of, if I think, here's a pen I use. I got it from Excalibur in Vegas years ago. Is that upside down? Oh, yeah. Okay. If I say I love this pen, and I do love this pen, I would say, how many of you guys love this pen? We love this pen. We love this pen. And someone may say, I don't love that pen. And then we would say, well, why don't you love the pen? Give us an argument. We do it just naturally, especially in New York. In New York, we naturally argue, but we don't argue like this. We don't argue about saying, you said the word stupid. That's not a good word. That's highly, you're highly African. What? So it wouldn't make sense that it's my mind, first of all, but it wouldn't be somebody who grew up with me, because they would automatically say, what's highly African? So they referred to me as highly African, meaning I'm very Black. Okay, I'm very Black. So as a very Black person, I become highly African. They said I'm highly argumentative. Probably. But let's go back to the why they said I speak in an authoritative way. It's because if you are trying to, they said, rule over me, manipulate me, and I'm saying this is this, this is that, and I'm showing proof, then I'm being argumentative. That means you're being argumentative. No, in my upbringing, if we publicly argue about something and I can show proof that what you're saying is a lie, in my upbringing, that ends the argument. We don't keep going to the next thing. The argument isn't to keep us continuing to argue. It's to end and resolve resolution and move on and stop wasting time. So guys, I don't have any questions coming in. I think they're now arguing amongst themselves. And I think I'm going to end this live stream. I may do another live stream. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting. People out there who are targeted, thank you for your videos. I'm learning a lot from other targeted individuals. The news, please, if you are in the news media, please talk about this. This is happening to people. This is a scam on a lot of Americans. This is a foreign-based scam. They want to steal real estate. They want to steal people's lives, jobs, turn absolutely sane people into mentally ill people. And it can happen if under the right circumstances. It's overwhelming. They overwhelm targeted individuals with so many horrors that just talking about it is horrifying. They even got horrified when we were talking about psychological decomposition, because that's the truth. They know it. It kills people. Thank you for watching.